Welcome, boys and girls. Working on page 2 of the new strip, 9-pager that kind of mashes up kid comics and classic horror comics. Let's get the show on the road. This is a spoiler page for sure for the people who know. As soon as I ink in this title, there's a percentage of you that's going to know exactly where this is going. We'll call this an origin story. We'll call this the origin story that you didn't know you needed. Welcome to the chat, everybody. If you want to see what some of the art looks like in its finished state from what we were working on yesterday, you can hit up my Instagram. It turned out really cool, but this is when stuff is really gonna sing. BL Fisher, thanks for pre-ordering Red Room issue number 2. Your store, if you haven't pre-ordered issue 1 of Red Room, of which thousands of people have, and I thank you all dearly, your store can now order copies. It's in the catalog that they order comics from. So if you have a cool comic shop to support, by all means, make that happen. And thank you so very much for ordering issue 2. It's going to be a monthly comic, a lot of work. 2021 is going to be a busy, busy, busy year. Though now that I think about it, I don't know what year of my professional life has not been busy, busy, busy. I guess the one major difference is that by owning this property right here, Red Room, I could share the process with you guys. Let you watch the stuff develop every step of the way. In this comic, when it goes out into the wild, it should cost you a sum total of $0.00. You dig? Red Room will not be published in a treasury size because a lot of the artwork is drawn pretty small, around 9 by 12. So there will be trades with maybe, a little bit of added goodies, but then there will be the ultimate big book. There are some of you, this title is a spoiler for those who know. Most of the comic will fit this 12-panel grid, which will be pretty cool. Oh man, should have been a little bit more prepared ahead of time, but it looks like I could use a little ink. The cool thing about the Japanese G pen is that the nib holds far more ink than the Hunt 102. So gotta often replenish the ink well. That should do the trick. Ink is a finicky mistress, so I might have to dilute it with a little water. Certainly got to mix it up. What type of camera do we use? It is a Logitech, something like a CS922 or something like that. I don't know. We basically, you know, thanks to all of your viewership, thanks to super chats and stuff, when it's time for us to get equipment, we just get whatever the best thing is at that moment. So at the time I grabbed this camera, the Logitech 922 or something, I forget, was the top doggy. So if you remember where we last left off, the little sister was climbing a treehouse, and the boys had a secret. They made her pledge that she wouldn't get mad, and that she would keep that secret. And what will happen is you will turn the page, and you will get to see that secret. Having a lot of fun playing with this cartoony style. People are really responding to it too, and I would just show off little pages off of my Instagram stories and stuff. Everybody's like, what are you working on? Like, they can't imagine that this is a Red Room story. And the whole contrivance of this comic and doing 12 issues is really an exercise in me using genre to play around with writing different types of materials, and using genre as almost a plausible deniability. If it's a little out there, a little crazy, I could just lie and be like, oh, but it's homage to VHS horror movies. You see the scam? Now that said, I'm doing my best, but I've been drawing far more than I've been writing. But thankfully I have a good crew surrounding me that I could bounce things off of and get good feedback. So I think you're going to dig this comic. Put it this way, I know for a fact that I would be supporting this comic. This is the exact comic I wish existed on the stands right now. And that's really the reason why you should spend all that time to make something. The power of comics compels you. X means black. So one of the things that I'm going to be playing with here is this is going to be a full color strip, except for the part that's not. And the part that's not will be little Juniper here. She's going to get the full Red Room classic duotone treatment that you've been seeing from my finished pages and stuff. But everything surrounding her is going to be this poppy color. Another thing I'm messing around with is the classic coloring that I've been doing, like on X-Men Grand Design and Hip Hop Family Tree. Those kind of dot pattern colors are going to comprise of the backgrounds. And I'm coloring the characters in just saturated digital color so that they really pop against the background, almost like an animated cartoon, you know, like a colored cell. So they're going to be super saturated with the dot pattern backgrounds, and each character will represent a color, like a Power Ranger. Little brother's red, big brother's blue, little sis is pink, and Juniper right here, it's going to be just gray, just Red Room gray, duotone gray. She'll also have way more detail and stuff. I want her to seem like she's in a different universe. You know, one of the weird inspirations for trying this out is a classic In Living Color skit where the one white girl is pretends to be like a 1940s melodramatic film star, calls everybody Johnny, and she's in black and white, and then it's, you know, the modern day 1990s, and everybody else is in color, you know, like she's ripped out of time. I want this comic to be like 2 lost periods of time in one strip. And it's going to end, this is going to be the final, there's going to be 5 stories in this comic, and this will be the final one. So I think it's going to end the comic on a really good note. It's going to be a very strong story. Doing super well today. This page was the first page I stayed up very late to finish because I just wanted to see what it looked like all together, and I was pretty pleased with it. It was about what I expected and excites me to move forward. I think I'll probably stream every day this week because this is a 9-pager. Wednesday, I'm going to do some prep work for Kayfabe. Thursday will be Kayfabe editing. And then Thursday will be Kayfabe recording and editing. And then we'll jump right back on things. Finish this story up. It's all laid out. A lot of panels. Lot of panels. Like, I think maybe the very next page is going to be a complete 12-panel gig. Been having an absolute ball playing with these big head characters, Bigfoot cartooning. The secret is the little brothers have been supporting a fugitive in the treehouse, and I'm not sure how well you could see said fugitive, but when she gets inked, it should add some illumination. Want that stuff to dry up. So while that's going, I'll just ink something randomly. Thanks, Robin from the UK. I'm using Strathmore 300 Bristol, the yellow tablets. Cheap stuff. Inking with a Japanese G pen. Using just Speedball ink, all cheap supplies. I think that was one of the early attractions about really like learning to draw and put comics together. It's a cheap hobby. You can get the G pen holder, this blue handled holder, and 10 nibs for $17 on online. Dick Blick or whatever. Tablet Strathmore Bristol, maybe $12. Pencils are commodities. You could just go get those at the grocery store. Jerry V asking if I'm still biking daily, and in these winter months I just do not. We had a lot of snow recently, but I just am in hibernation mode during the winter, but I'm itching to get back to those trails. I would do about 20 miles a day every morning. Get up 5, 6 in the morning, head out to the trail. It would take me 2 hours to do a 20-mile loop. Come home, shower up, eat some breakfast. Have the excuse to be able to sit here sedentary-like and draw comics for the rest of the day and night. That was my 2020. And I'm quite sure it's going to be my 2021 as well. It's mostly an asphalt trail. We have some real good ones here in Pittsburgh. It connects with, if you go one way, it connects to Washington D.C., which is I think a 350-mile trip. And there's a lot of supportive businesses along the trail, so there will be like a lot of bed and breakfasts and restaurants and biking repair shops all the way through Appalachia. Maybe that'll be my midlife crisis, you know, go bike to DC. No, I don't know about a last George Romero movie coming to Shudder. While I was laying this out, I've been watching some Joe Bob from the beginning. I got, what did I see? I was watching them in order. So I saw Rabid, Sleepaway Camp. The one with Leanna Quigley and the little nerds. I forget what that one's called. That might be where I'm at. Alright, let's get back to business. Well, this should be dry up here. No, not Return of the Living Dead 2. I would have totally remembered that one. I think it was actually one of her first horror movies. Like, I think she was in some kind of Meatballs type movies before that. But it was sort of... Oh, yeah, Brink Stevens is in this one, too. It's the Mount Rushmore of Scream Queens, of 80s Scream Queens. Yeah, there's going to be some flashback on this page. And what I'm going to ultimately do is take the panel border away. It's just very useful while coloring. But then when I color the panels, I'll take the panel border away, and that will signify the flashback moments. No, is it? No, it's not Night of the Demons either. That's the one where she pushes with the lipstick, right? Yeah, definitely not that one. Still before that. It has a real goofy title. Adrian Nunez, you hit it. That's totally what it was. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bullerama. Yes, that is where I left off with the Joe Bob gimmicks. Not exactly a title that rolls off the tongue. Zach Amico's Spook Show. No, I don't know it. I think it was recommended here, but I've not seen it. I caught a great movie that I've not seen before a couple days ago called Eating Raoul. I've always heard of it. Finally took the time to check it out and got so much out of it. Like, I love the unconventional nature of it. I love the flaws of it. You know, this kind of rough edges that weren't burnished off. Russ works. You got it. You got it, man. Consider this an origin story that you didn't think you knew, Russ. And wait till you see when our stowaway gets inked. It'll all become clear. Alright, let that little bit ink. Let that little bit of ink dry. After the cameras went off yesterday, I finished page 1 of this story, but I actually had a collaborative job where I inked a page from somebody else, and you guys are going to flip when you hear about that one. It's going to be fun. Page turned out really well. Then you know Uncle Eddie ain't doing a job, man, unless it's a cool thing. Plenty enough jobbers to pick up the Keebler fudge cookies type jobs, you know what I'm saying? ML, thanks for ordering up some Red Room comics. You're going to dig it. 64-page first issue. It's going to launch you right into this world. It'll give you all you need to know for like a cursory knowledge of the universe. And then before you know it, you're already in over your head. Is this dried up? There's something about the humidity levels in the air here in town that's keeping the ink a little wet on the page longer than I'm used to. Nah, we'll tease our girl for a minute. I might put this whole story up in one clip on my Patreon. Super fun playing with these bold lines, these little rubber fingers, big heads. Give each character their own kind of iconic facial features. Different. Each one has a unique nose. Each one has unique eyes. Just do some cartooning. Do I prefer to draw cartoons or realistic? I don't think anything I've ever drawn could be confused as being realistic. There's sort of cartoony and more cartoony. Those are like my default settings. And I certainly like the freedom of it. In non-COVID times, I would go to like life drawing, croquis, life drawing sessions, and I always kind of marveled at the people who were like very good at drawing the figure, but they like couldn't draw one thing out of their head. Just completely different discipline. And when it would come to doing those life drawing things, like I never would stick around for the big pose, you know, the one where it's like the model sits there for 3 hours or even 1 hour. Like, that's no fun to me. I just like to do gestures, even the like 30-second ones, because when you nail down proportion, that's really what you need for comics, is gesture and proportion, and then, you know, fill in the skeleton, fill in the body, and get the musculature 70% right, and you'll be fine. Well, that's a teeny TV dinner refuse up here. Maybe some peas left over, because our boys are sneaking their homie some food. Kid cuisines. I've not seen The Last Ronin. I would have checked it out if Eastman and Laird like really made it. Less interested in seeing what somebody else does with it. Get a little bit started on our stowaway here. What does Eastman do? Like some bridging sequences or something? Yeah, you're probably right, even especially if Eastman used some duotone. Unless he hoarded tons of it, because you cannot find that stuff any longer. There was a dude in the Kayfabe audience, Adam Riches, was able to find a grip of it on eBay about 2 months ago. I think it was like 6 or 8 sheets of it for $350 with probably not enough chemical to develop all of it. I wonder if enough time has lapsed where we can like figure out what the formula is to make that stuff so that we can do some DIY duotoning. Because digital is cool. You know, in the comic is the thing, as they say. But it would be nice to have the originals with the duotone treatment on there. Got a little dab of ink on the finger, smeared a touch. Basically exactly what I did not want to do. So this character here, just even the drawing style is going to be divorced from the rest of the comic. She's going to be a little... This is going to be an outlaw character. A lot of duotone, a lot of detail. No, manga uses screen tones. It's way different. Screen tone is like an adhesive sticker. Duotone is a chemical process. Meant to have the same results, obviously. Just get some gray on the page. But the duotone is kind of far more interesting looking to me. Maybe even in part because it was sort of rare. You wouldn't see it all that much. It was expensive, even in its heyday. So basically, like in those 1986 black and white boom comics, the people who would use it, like they were putting in some investment into their little money-making schemes. These eyes I'm going to leave completely free of ink, and it's going to be duotone. Well, actually no, I'm going to have some hatch right here, but the duotone is going to do a lot of heavy lifting there. And then I'll just cut into it and just like leave pools of white to just make them look so wet. Try to imbue some soul into those eyes, because that is the tragedy of the character. Gnarly ass teeth. Thanks, Darwin. Yeah, the poker face design is a fun one. Poker Face might be like the Boba Fett of Red Room. Got some good videos coming up for you guys in the near future. And by near, I mean tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. Tomorrow's going to be real good. Like, I'm going to be very, very curious to see what you guys think and hear your feedback. Did you have some bushy sideburns? Needs a haircut. I'm very excited to see how this page turns out with this idea of just having this character be independent of color. This is going to be a part of what I'm calling issue 0. So there will be 13 issues. I know, neighbor upstairs running a vacuum. It's a chores day. It's kind of a spring-like day here in Pittsburgh, so if I wasn't hanging out with you guys drawing, I'd probably do some spring cleaning myself. Still not rolling that out for afterwards. It seems like she's getting mad work done because she's attacking me with sound from both ends. Below, I hear her washers and dryers going, which you may also be hearing. And above, running that sweeper. That's dynamics, man, getting shit done. Mad respect. Funny you say that, weekend. I am actually thinking about making some deadline soup so that I don't have to worry about what I'm going to be eating for dinner for a week, and just steady grind on comics. Get this strip done. Because guess what? Doing a monthly comic, there's always another one that needs drawn. Don, you're not far off, man. That serial killer convention issue is profound to me, and that guy came into my mind. Certainly, like after I drew my guy, revisiting that, and I sort of based my guy a little bit on Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, who does not look very dissimilar from the character that you speak of. Great issue, man. Introducing the Corinthian. And then there was Neil using that one character from the Swamp Thing comics, the Boogeyman, the guy who would like cut out people's eyes and collect them. That issue isn't so much an inspiration as much as just the profiling of serial killers. Period. Is it's super hard to for me to justify taking a life. Like it's kind of impossible for me. Certainly in like a domestic situation, that's not war or whatever. I mean, even that obviously there's a million issues with that even. So I studied a lot of profiling books, serial killer books. That John Douglas guy who is the Mind Hunter dude from the Netflix show. He's got a nice bibliography of stuff to just try to get into the mindset, the narcissism of people who would take a life for really no reason. It was kind of a necessary hurdle to figure out while putting this comic together. And a whole lot of it definitely, I mean, there are just flawed people who have, a curse. But even with that curse, it seems that the root of a lot of it is just like intense narcissism. Yeah, you're right, Captain. And I guess what I'm saying is figuring out the motivation of some of these characters and stuff was just not easy, because you just don't want it to be money all the time. You want to try to come up with something more interesting than just somebody pulling a caper because the end goal is just a dollar bill or a Bitcoin in this case. You want to try to get a little deeper, add a little bit more nuance to your character. So the only way I could figure to do that was read a bunch about these creepazoids. Found a YouTube channel that I like a lot called the Behavior Panel. It's for kind of body language experts. Some people who had military jobs, some guys who work with actors, actresses. It's 4 dudes, and they just sit around playing interview tapes of like Carol Baskin, and then letting the audience know what they see. And in those conversations, they get into some interesting stuff about humanity that I found good for the comic. The little brother is like walks around in wrestling gear, because why not? Just add a little bit of fun characterization, some fun visuals. He's got a mullet too. KF, thanks for supporting the Patreon as an early adopter, and hope you dig those issues. What I have up there right this minute is issue 1 and 2 completely up there, unedited. You'll see some typographical errors, some bad grammar and stuff, but you'll be able to read the comics way ahead of time. And there's a 3rd issue that is being serialized as we speak, and that is the issue that will contain this story as well. 4 short stories. All PG related, because that was the exercise. Can we tell cool, compelling stories without too much vulgarity? The answer is yes. Different kind of story, but we get to explore the world and flesh it out a little bit. Get a little dude a muffin top. This would be like those cheap ass belts that you could get out of the WWF catalog back in the day. Get your Bret the Hitman Hart shades. I always thought it was genius that the Hulk would rip his shirt every time he would come to the ring, because you know kids wanted to rip. I remember like thinking how cool it would be to have a Hulk shirt for every day or something, so that you could rip it up instead of just taking it off traditionally. Put some knee pads on the little guy, because he's ready for war. The key with this body language here on the little brother is to try to show him be like a calming force, maybe to imply that he knows what happens when Juniper here is backed into a corner or feels threatened. So obviously he doesn't want his baby sis to feel the wrath of the house guest here. The treehouse guest. Where are we at? An hour 9 and almost a half a page done. Only 6 p.m. Not bad at all. I should be able to get to bed before 4 a.m. today. have no idea what that must sound like on the microphone. Little brother has freckles, little jughead nose, big ass ears. Another little TV dinner tray. No forks or anything. Juniper doesn't use forks. She's really fun to draw. Like, I'll at the very least, before the stream ends, like, do that little silhouette panel so that you see the treatment. You know, she's drawn super feral, almost gallops, or stalks, rather than having a traditional walking gait. And truthfully, she should be so hungry that there isn't a morsel of food left. There's also a kind of motif where this is like prison food. Like she's is or was a prisoner. Peter Chung designed the Rugrats. He was at least an animator on that first season. This is gonna be a fun one. I'm really stoked to get the inks of this in stone so that I could get to the final production part, color it and everything, put the duotones on, and just see how everything looks mashed up together. I can't recall another comic that tried this, so it'll be a worthy experiment. And I'll make the discovery of perhaps why no one has ever tried this. I'll do the roughs for these pages in Procreate on the iPad. Take it into Photoshop and then transcribe the line art into 15% cyan. Will do the trick to print it up so that it's invisible once scanned. Go over top of it, add some detail to flesh out the figures, and then when you scan it in gray, you can play with the levels in Photoshop, threshold, get rid of any errant pencil lines, and you'll be good. And it saves time in erasing, which is why I use the blue pencil method. It takes me about an hour to clean up a page of graphite. So this comic will be about 300 some pages. 300 hours of erasing. No thank you. That was me being hasty. Too stoked to see this done. Printer Epson Workforce 7510. Got it a long time ago, so I'm sure there's a better model out now, and just get whatever the new one is. It must be better than this one, and this one is not bad by any means. I've had no problems with it. It's just I got it a long time ago, and you know how they like to do, put out new product every other season or whatever. Handles 11 by 17 paper, no sweat. Ink the mullet. that with line. I will use a brush for this, just for speed's sake. An old Raphael 8404 that came with split hairs, so I just abused it. It's that chance you always take when you buy these stupid things, man. Might as well buy 5 whenever you need one. All the old cartoonists say that, you know, it didn't used to be that way. Of course, right? That's what they always say. The whole rap with these Raphaels, back in the day, they said that it was like these little old Russian ladies who made them, and it was like kind of like a factory house of women who were just all kind of half blind somehow by hand potting these brushes. So I guess one of the things that came with that was a quality of brush, but I wouldn't like the idea of making somebody blind for a good ink line. Just using speedball ink. to separate the planes inside the house here. I think I'll handle a lot of that with color. So make this wall here one color, make this wall another color, make the floor a color. Just try to separate all the planes. I forget what this sign says. Let me just take a look. Yes, stay out. And it's like the uneven hand of a little kid. Don't need to roll out Ames guide or anything like that for that. Alright, what are we clocking here? Half a page finished in hour and a half? That's a record for me. So just for the fun of it, I'll ink this little silhouette piece, and then that'll be it for the stream. Because I feel like blasting some music. Gotta play some stuff to get the heart pumping. For whatever reason, I'm in kind of a Black Flag mood. that mullet flapping in the wind. Got those Beetlejuice teeth. I was going to have the big brother have a mullet too, but the silhouette is perfect for making me rethink that, because you don't want the characters to be confused. So he gets a short haircut. These are Copic multiliners. think I'm going to stretch my legs, go for a little walk. Come back home and finish the ink on that. Catch a little dinner. Color this baby. There it is, man. Page 2, Juniper. It's a summer vacation story. What kind of terror are these kids going to get into with their newfound friend? We shall see. If you haven't done so, hit that link, pre-order some Red Room comics, hit the Patreon. You could read the Red Room comics ahead of time before the print buying public gets to read the comics. I put up new strips every Tuesday. $3 gets the archive, and there might be 100 pages of comics up there right now. There's at least very close to 100. Anyhow, you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy